Well, let's see something here that's quite exposing from the unconscious community. I don't know if you ever see these things that are shorts now that you just show a simple thing. Sure, you can do something like show some golf shots or do this, that, and the other, or maybe even a car race if you started right at the thing, or things along that line. But whenever you start to show ancients, in my eyes, I could probably never make a 1-minute video on it. In fact, just explaining that fact, I'll burn a whole minute here. And I thought about trying to do a few of them and just have it cut off at a minute and I'm still talking. And then down in the comments go, hey, you want to check out the whole video, blah, blah, blah. And there's a way you can splice the front of your videos or things like that and do it. And then in modern day, people want so much information right now, real quick, in a 5-second burst. Okay, I'm done. I flip switch, flick, flick, flick with my finger. And nobody's trying to get any in-depth knowledge. And a lot of times you'll watch somebody's video for a minute, minute and a half, and it doesn't have a grabbing moment on it, flick. Well, what's hilarious is the guy was just trying to lead in and get you into the moment there and then expose something. And it's like in my videos, quite often I'll show a firework every once in a while to try to keep you in going to it, but know that towards the end somewhat, there's going to be a big fireworks, but then after that we'll talk for a bit and I'll fade out. Anyhow, again, this isn't all about me and stuff, so let's get to the topic at hand here. What we have is a problem with a guy. He calls himself Mr. Imhotep, and then his icon is a black person with a blue Egyptian cowl cap on his head. Now, I think Egyptologist 7 knows who exactly this is. This is David Imhotep Jones, was a famous Afrocentric that has been so debunked. Apparently he's changed his name and come on as Ambiguous, Look at Me. And he's gotten a lot of play because Afrocentrics are just exploding and abounding. I don't know if you're aware of it, but this was filmed at the time whenever the Black Cleopatra thing came out and the big debacle. And of course they try to squeeze in that the Egyptians were black all in the background and stuff too. Like, oh, that's just a given. We're talking about Cleopatra now. And it's like, no, you haven't done anything except for self-expose real badly. And I hope there gets to be a conversation about this, no matter how far and hard it has to go to make it happen. So what he's done here is made one of those shorts, and let me tell you, this guy makes a short a day about, or not more. And I made the mistake of clicking on one or two of them, and lo and behold, now it says, hey, here's that guy again, here's that guy again. And what's hilarious is what he does is he takes Egyptian cowls and he puts it on this same clip art clip out of a black Bantu person and tries to keep pushing this idea. And you think, well, God, that's hilarious. Well, you probably didn't get much play off of it. But down in the comments, they're just hooting and hollering and saying that they're the ancient Egyptians, and people just don't know who the real pharaohs were and all these things, you know. So, and the most racist comments, and they're all trying to hide it from us because we're magic or something, and with our melanin, and there's just all kinds of crazy comments going on down here. We'll look at a few of them here in a minute. Let me just get into this. So what he shows here is some pictures, and he says, who should be used to represent the civilization? Now he should probably clarify that Egypt is who he's talking about, but because this is an Afrocentric thing, and all he talks about constantly is Egypt, 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 everybody that's hooked up knows. And then anybody that's ever gone through Egypt probably recognizes these pictures, which is his own downfall. So this is really shooting yourself in the foot and foolish, but yet here he goes. Just to show you the cognition skills of people that are trying to do this. So who should be used representative of that? You know, be put on the forefront when talking about it. I have a series of posts that I'll share with you, and it will be a slow introduction to something longer that I am preparing for you. Oh boy, I'm preparing it with taking a lot of pictures and trying to darken them and so on, and clip out the pale women and all that, so I can get you to believe more and hoot and holler about something that you didn't even know existed. Isn't it fantastic? It will help you understand many things I have treated in the past. That's kind of a weird expression there, but activate the bell, family. Well, on my channel here, activate the bell if you want to hear some more on this. Really, I actually thought that it was kind of well taken care of, and Chief X is all over their ass, and he knows pretty much everything, or a lot of it. There's a lot that he doesn't want to talk about because it gets too sensitive even for him. I talked to him about some of it, and he goes, you realize I'm black. And I go, what? But, okay, so there's a limit to even if you know it, if you want to show it. I guess I got to go with that. There's a point to it. Really, my whole point was the whole thing of stop altogether, and we should be able to cover all of that, whether going back into Aslar Man at 4400 BC or what they were just prior and things like that, or if they're really involved in the Bible or mentioned in any way and so on because his mom and so on like that. And hey man, I get the feelings off of it, okay, whatever. But who should you use to represent the civilization of ancient Egypt? And so he gives you 4 choices here. Now what's crazy is he's done some of these and he gives you 4 choices, and he showed a couple of Caucasian Egyptians and then a couple of the ones they used as Negro shop. And what's hilarious is that was the one right there where you can go, see this? They're all the same people and they're all Caucasians. And I darkened these photographs. Look at you go crazy. But that one was bad. So then he put out another one that's just like it. 4 different cowlings with that same Bantu clip out that I talked about earlier stuck inside of there. Like, which one is it? Is it Bantu, Bantu, or Bantu, or Bantu? And people were all like, oh, I think it may be more like 3. Oh, and it's just like, oh, God, it's disgusting. So what's the weird, unique, and of course self-exposing thing about this attempt that's being done right here? Well, guess what? He decides to show you things, and he's like trying to be, oh, I've got something behind this. I'm thinking thoughtfully. Should it be a random scribe from Lower Egypt? Which, I don't know, this guy wasn't from Lower Egypt in the first place. He was pretty much central, wasn't he? And then the next picture, a random minor official of Lower Egypt. Oh, I think, I'm certain that one is central too. And it's not a random minor official, it was one of the top officials, hence the fact that he actually even got a statue. So they can't even be slightly honest about anything they try to produce whatsoever. And that's evident in anything they try to say, because if you found these guys, you'd be like, oh, okay, so where's that at? Also, it wasn't like down the delta or something, because they try to make up this, see now there's this thing where Caucasians must have been there somewhat, so we're going to claim, yeah, they said something about that the farther you go now, the darker it becomes because of Sudanese coming in and stuff and all that. So that's the way it was 4,000 years ago, and I'm going to pretend that Upper Egypt, which is down the Nile, or up the Nile actually, south if you will, there were black people there, and there were white people on the Delta, and da-da-da and everything. Yeah, there were white people on the Delta, and all of Egypt was white people too, Caucasians. Oh yeah. So what he shows here is these 3 photographs that you can see. We're getting to the 3rd one, where he talks about a random Roman inhabitant of Fayum. Well, this is whenever Rome's taking over, so on. And then wait for it. It's the incredible, here it comes. he shows an ambiguous statue of somebody that I'm not sure is even a pharaoh, but it quite easily could be. But it could be officials or anything like that too. But instead, notice his labeling. Instead of random minor, should we be looking at the legitimate pharaohs? What the hell's that? Oh, well, it's also a Caucasian here, and you can see the phenotype. Whether you see blacks that are extremely admixed and pulling off this phenotype nowadays, we can easily see that that's not what was in effect in any way. And we're talking about 4,000 years ago or more. But they have this belief that if the nose is chipped in any way, then this means they're black people. And so if I could just lollygag around and show any chipped nose statue, and this means something. Whether or not there are 3 other statues over here without a chipped nose showing the same guy or not, whether you can look on the walls and go, nope, or anything else, they try to pull out little things and do stuff like that. And of course this is a darkened stone and so on, they don't have to darken this, but quite often a lot of the shots that they try to show, they crop out all the pale women off the tomb walls and then take and hit contrast and pull it down and then go, see? And then you can take a picture of the same wall and be like, this looks like this, yours looks like that. What have you been trying to do? Did you feel like you're Mr. Photoshop now? What's going on here? That's disgusting. Why is it you cropped it right before the pale white women that go along with the red ochre men, just like all the other people in the Mediterranean used, including Greeks and Noans and everybody else? Red ochre males, pale women. Oh, there's even a book about it. But I don't, that's books, that's whitey cracker knowledge. I mean, I've heard all kinds of weird things about, one of the famous ones I even put in an old video was somebody going, that's just books. To discount things that have been proven totally against what he's trying to push, he decided he would pull out the incredible, that's just books. So how many times could we fail at this in one showing here? Well, what he showed, and I have shown these quite often on my channel, real exposing. Now he knows this is random scribe from Lower Egypt, or that's what he calls him. Really, we know his name is Paranefer. Now he's been known for over 100 years as the seated scribe whenever he was found. He has crystal blue eyes in him, and he has a phenotype that easily is recognizable as being a Caucasian, but also more than that, kind of European and so on. DNA's stepped up to the plate and proven all these things, and I don't want to even go there right now with it. Let's just leave it at that statement. But I also showed a recent video where whenever the Cleopatra debacle came out, that a local comedian who used to be a doctor named Bassem Youssef came on and started talking about how this is all BS and so on. And even though he's an Egyptian, it's kind of funny, but he's defending the fact that, yeah, we got taken over by the Greeks and she wasn't black. But in that fact, I stopped it for a minute and I go, take a good look at him. Look at his eyes. There's still some blue eyes in Egypt too, but hold on a second. Does he look like this guy right here? And the answer is, yeah, a whole lot. Not exactly. I've gone back and forth. The jaw right here is a little more squared off than it is, and so on. It's just a hair of difference. But if you were to take somebody that go, yeah, he's pretty good as an artist, and he wants to try to sculpt Bassem Youssef, and he ended up with something that looked like this, where the hair was a little different or not, I'm sure people would be like, that's not too bad. Regardless of that, now we have Ka'apar, the second one there, who he calls random minor official, which whenever you look up Ka'apar, they tell you he's a high official and da-da-da and everything else. So, of course, trying to minimize the Caucasians here, Lord knows why he shows. Here's the thing. Why are you showing 3 Caucasian and then an ambiguous and then trying to put in Bantu somehow? if your first three pictures here are easy Caucasians, the first two have blue eyes, the one that happens at the Roman period doesn't, but has curly hair, it's a little ambiguous, and then you show the black one, you're almost showing, or what you feel is the black one, sorry. But if you feel like even you're doing that, you're showing here that the ancient Egyptians used to be blue-eyed Caucasians. When you get to the Roman time, there's a little bit of ambiguity, but what are you going to try to pull off? Is this an ag mixed black at this point? I don't know. God knows even why you use that picture. So it's just real not understanding here whatsoever. But then, so here we see that black people, like they showed in DNA, that black people didn't show up until the very end of anything when it was all over anyhow. Like late to the 4th of July party, like showing up in August something and thinking you're on the right date. Or hearing the word race and thinking that you run fast, so you're all up for trying to change history if you can run real fast right now. Here, let me see if I can run against a random white guy and maybe beat him in a foot race. That would mean that West Sub-Saharan Bantus knew Egypt existed. No, it does. None of this works. None of this works. But he's literally showing you here 3 out of 4, and a fourth he wants to call ambiguous and call it legitimate pharaohs because it looks a little like Michael Jackson. Well, after all the surgery. But anyhow, there's one that he looks more like Michael. I think he's shown that before too. By the way, he's kind of run out of crap to do. You can see now because now he's just keep folding over stupid things. But also, hey, you know, I thought about gathering up a bunch of these and just be like, nope, and here's another one, nope, and 5 minutes to debunk the stupid. I can do it very easy. It's just show whatever he says and then go, West Sub-Saharan Bantu didn't know Egypt existed. What's my time? Wow, I'm a bull rider. But they're caught up in a cargo cult. Mental issue, can't think right. If somebody has darker skin than a piece of paper, that means we somehow, whenever even the people that are the people they're trying to claim as we now, have turned on them and said clearly, quit saying we and pointing at us. You didn't know we existed. To take from Will Smith, keep our country out of your mouth. So let's look at just a couple of things that are said here. As someone who has sketchy knowledge of history of Africa, compounded by propaganda pieces by the colonizers, this is secret speak for the white people that heralded civilization and brought it to them when they were pre-Neolithic people. Any valid viewpoints are welcome. So in other words, somebody tell me under this, which you can see nobody has yet, but he put a heart on it. Somebody tell me a lie. Come on, tell me a lie. Coming from a place which has also been colonized, dun, 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 it takes a massive effort to free oneself of the colonized mindset, dun, 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 embedded during colonization, dun, dun, dun. Some say they are independent while blind to their still colonized mindset. Oh no, wait, it's starting to go off in left field here. In other words, you're still on the plantation and some people are, and you're still stuck. And instead of colonized mindset, maybe we ought to call it cargo cult. If you watch my recent video on cargo cults, it's done with a piece of Robert Sepper and then actually showing researchers going out to these islands that never knew the white man existed. And during World War II, cargo planes showed up with Seabees and they ended up making a runway for them and so on like that, and they would come down and ditch a bunch of cargo that they could again put on ships and load out to people and do things like that at a few select islands. And the people of those islands turned into a cargo cult and started building fake planes out of bamboo. They made a runway strip, they made all this other stuff, and they're trying to entice them to come back. So they talked to them about well, what's the deal? What happened and everything? And they go, they stole all the cool stuff that came from our ancestors. That's how they got it. Planes and everything that got stole from our ancestors who were more primitive than us. When they're talking to them too, they're wearing Caucasian clothing now. They show you in that video an older picture whenever they first ran into him, and it was like lucky for a loincloth. Anyhow, that they couldn't fathom what the reality was, and that therefore you must have stole it from my ancestors somehow, and therefore you owe us, keep giving us cargo, which everybody sees as a real mistake now. Did another video about it where they've taken Prince Charles and turned him into a god. And when they found out he died, now they think Prince Charles is supposed to take over for it. Now, I don't know if Prince Charles has done anything. Oh yeah, there's my tab on Cleopatra. It's just wiki on Cleopatra, and it shows 4 or 5 pictures where I was going to do a thing on that, but then all of a sudden all these self-exposing articles came out, and then as soon as it got released, it flopped so bad. It got a 1% audience rating, and then they tried to get everybody to come on, show our support for and someone said it went up to 2 for a minute. Even the pandering, virtue signaling critics aren't wanting to touch this whatsoever with the Cleopatra concept. Next person here says, I love your channel. You're showing who the real Egyptians in Kemet are. Black. So you can see people have lost their mind here. I thought you would really expect someone who has power to understand the rest of the population to be able to represent it on the whole, the wants, the needs, the beliefs. So, in other words, instead of a pharaoh, which might be drawn in some type of Photoshop type light, probably more the common man. And you can look at those early scribes, and they were done that way, show a little chubbiness on them, so on. One famous one of the statues there is Himwenu. He's the architect of the Great Pyramid. I'd like for you to take a separate look at him. H-E-M-U-I-N-U, Himwenu, the architect of the Great Pyramid. And when you look at him, what are you seeing? Of course, you could do this all day long to Bantu people and then have a picture of a Bantu over here and be like, which one, what are you seeing? Maybe you take a picture of a European type guy and you'll keep showing pictures over there that look kind of just like these guys, and then you'll show that Bantu don't look anything like any of these guys, and see if you can cognate to get them through that. It'd be a weird experiment, because somewhere in there they're going to flinch and start telling you it's all fake or something weird like that, and that they aren't fake. This guy says the minor official even has 360 waves, if I remember correctly. No, the thing that you call a minor official, which is a major official with about 6 titles behind him, doesn't have any waves on him whatsoever. He's just got that short cropped haircut that all the other statues do back then. And it's believed that they probably put wigs upon him at one time, giving the chance for that. But it's not a 360 wave, and no one ever had Bantu knots or nappy hair in ancient Egypt. And all the mummies are showing Caucasian hair, quite often red, blonde, auburn, things like that. And they can't cognate, because in their mind they made up this picture of a lie, and then so they want to tell you that when I look at the real thing, I'm going to try to call that a lie and believe in my Michael Jackson video dream. You see. This person says the kings is what you should use because they represent the majority of ethnicity, ancient Egyptians, not the mixed foreign population stemming from foreign populations coming to the Delta region, Lower Egypt. Well, I guess that is one way to look at it, if that's possible and you're worried about that. Of course, you're worried about that in an Afrocentric Michael Jackson video lie. And reality is like, well, if you want to look at the nobility, there are far more nobility shown with these blue eyes and blonde hair, including King Tut's grandparents, Thuya and Yuya and Seti and Ramses, and Khufu's granddaughter is shown with red hair. Well, how does red hair really happen? Well, both of them have to have the genetics and da-da-da. Genetic tests have done enough on this to choke a horse, but we need more even. And blacks feel like, well, it's just not been checked enough. You've never found a Bantu person, so it just hasn't been checked enough. Oh, well, the information we've got have been able to say that there's a continuity all the way going through till the Roman times, and then things start changing. In fact, what we were trying to do is see it slightly change over time. And what that was, like when the Persians came in, or the Hyksos, or this, that, and the other, and da-da-da, and they go, no, there's no real change there. If there's Hyksos interjection, they have the same genetics. Whoops. Okay, well, when does sub-Saharan show up? Post-Roman periods. In fact, there are actually papers that are written that post-Roman periods, sub-Saharan interjection of admix from slavery, bringing these primitives in that didn't know what anything was or anything whatsoever, scared to death probably, who knows what, but they want to interject, we weren't that, we were the ancient Egyptians that built pyramids. Imagine how disgusting it is. And whenever you know anything about Egypt, you're like, wow, I mean, this is really a mental issue. Here's a black person named, wait, what? The random scribe, he says, should be used for this. Pharaoh kings or emperors are usually embellished a little bit. Like, well, I've even shown you before, hey, they said this mummy, this one's fat here, but ain't never done fat on the wall. What's up with that? Well, it's just like the Greeks. There's a little Photoshop going on, right? So he's saying it's embellished. A minor official could have also ulterior motives. The Roman story will matter more to him than it would to an ancient Egyptian. Okay, so I've got that. So which one? The random scribe? Well, the random scribe is the blue-eyed, most Caucasian looking out of the whole group there. Dun, 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 dun. Next one, random scribe, because he's actually a citizen and a resident of the country. Britain hasn't had an ethnic Briton on the throne since 1606, over 404 years. So the current monarch is straight German, Danish. Egyptian pharaohs were the same. Oh, so now Bantu were all over Egypt, but not the pharaohs. And somebody snuck in Whitey. You think that they could possibly sneak in a black person? People make comments about it all the time, and it's hilarious whenever you actually look into it. The Nubians weren't even allowed in Egypt by decrees. It says forever. The Semna Stele of Sensuret III. He's got an 8th year one, which is real telling, and a 16th year one, which is usually the only one they'll show because the other one says some things that are sensitive. Well, the Nubians are okay with it. Yes, it's blacks who are unrelated and didn't even know the Nubians existed who are very sensitive about it because they've got this lie going on, and that doesn't fit the idea at all. How could we be the Nubian Egyptians when the Nubians weren't Egyptians and then they weren't even allowed into Egypt? Like an apartheid situation, just like South Africa. And wait, hold on a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. They never get to the point of ever going, wait, hold on a minute. Seems to be a rare thing. I've only seen a few of them that have actually come out and gone, I was all crazy stupid with it. And finally I snapped and I was like, we didn't even know Egypt existed. What do you keep trying to play off? And then all these people are playing goofy games. Chief X has come out and tried to stop this situation and show basically, oh, well, they said some crap. Okay, well, here's some video. Of course, I tried to talk to him about some of it. Next thing you know, I'm a racist, but he's still showing the same thing. So there's still that idea. But anyhow, so some people think it should be the legitimate pharaoh because he's black and a black power sign. That's hilarious because none of these people depicted here whatsoever are black people. And one thing for certain is none of them are Bantu related in any way, shape, or form. That's only possible after that Roman inhabitant of Egypt here that's with those mummies with portraits. You can look up mummies with portraits. I could do it right now and sift through them and find some people with lighter hair a little bit, lady with green eyes, here's this, here's that, lady with auburn hair, this, that, and the other. Oh, there's a blonde. Oh no. But it's really much easier just to take the nobility and go back through them and go, well, let's look at the mummies, and you'll find blondes like crazy all through it. Of course, people thinking that scribes are only just a common people is not quite true either. All the scribes generally are passed down father to son from people who are kin to the pharaoh but not pharaoh. You know, the other kids that didn't get to be the pharaoh, the uncle. So the brother of the pharaoh, what happens with him and his kids and so on. In fact, there's a famous video, I showed a piece on it, which shows that the guy talks to you about his qualifications, how he can do all this, and it's passed down to father to son, that they actually found out that that was a reality from the Wayback Machine, not just something they had pulled in the last dynasties or so on, that they father to son or something, but it was from its origin, probably pre-dynastic. So real self-exposing here on Mr. Imhotep. And of course, he's always putting out polls and which one? This Bantu, this Bantu, this Bantu, or this Bantu. Or sometimes he'll show a Bantu, a Beja, a Bantu, a Nilotic. Which one were the ancient Egyptians? And you're like, no, D, none of the above. Gets pretty disgusting whenever things like this keep going on. I just don't want to just sit here and ramble and stuff and do it, but you can look up Copper and Paranefer and see these Caucasians, easy to see, but somehow I guess he's so caught up in it, he can't even see what he's outwardly exposing here whenever he does this video. And should it just be a random, random could be white boy sneaking in, or Caucasian sneaking into Caucasian Egypt, where you... Peace.